Nigeria Tonight begins with updates on the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states. We will be speaking with our correspondents on the latest. Let's start off in Bayelsa State, where the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has commenced the sorting and counting of votes across polling units in Bayelsa State. The off-cycle governorship elections are held in 3 states, Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi. Officers and ad hoc staff of INEC started sorting and counting of votes at around 1:33 p.m. in Ward 10, polling unit 05, Yinagwa local government area, and Labour Party candidate Udeng Zeradiri's polling unit. According to the presiding officer, only 183 of 622 registered voters were accredited. Bayelsa State has 3 major contenders vying for the governorship seat. The incumbent Governor Doye Diri vying for re-election under the People's Democratic Party, Timothy Silva, former governor and Nigeria's immediate past Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, contesting under the All Progressives Congress, and also Udeng Zeradiri, Labour Party candidate. Let's also tell you that in Imo State, there was tension at the Oji Town Primary School in Owerri North as vote-buying allegations nearly marred the governorship election at the center. The center housing unit 005, 006, and 007 were peaceful, but an argument erupted intermittently between party agents who appeared determined on canvassing to buy votes for their parties. Voter apathy was recorded at the government house polling units to Amimo in Ikeduru local government area, where the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, cast his vote to Uzuhumuma 001 in Oru East local government, where the incumbent governor, Hope Uzodinma, cast his vote. Also, voter apathy was recorded in community primary school Uzinamu Mbidi, Ward 1, polling unit 008, Oru West local government area. And despite assurances from Governor Hope Uzodinma that the electorate of Imo State would still turn up largely at the polling units to cast their vote, majority of the units witnessed a record all-time low in voter turnout. Most polling units monitored across different local government areas of the state presented the same scenario, where a few voters came in trickles to cast their votes. News Central's Chinwe, who was at some of the polling units in Oru West, Oru East, and Baitoli, Owerri West and Owerri Municipal, reports that there was 0 case of violence but high-profile inducements across the polling units. Let's now speak with our news correspondent covering the election in Bayelsa State, that is Bernard Akede, and we will also talk to Chinwe Ogele in Imo State. But then let me begin with Bernard. Good evening to you, Bernard. Okay, well, I guess I will try to see how we can bring Bernard on board. But in the meantime, let me see if I can speak to Chinwe. Chinwe, good evening to you. Hello, Chinwe. Hello, Chinwe. If you can hear me, just to say something. I guess we've not been able to connect with our correspondents, but then definitely on the news, we'll try to do that before we end the news. Let's move on to stories still talking about election, even as we head to Kogi State, where the governorship election in the state may not have ended with a talking point. A frontline candidate stayed away from voting. Dino Melaye, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, was not seen at his polling unit all day, but he won a landslide at the unit. News Central's Marvelous Obomanu, who monitored voting at the unit, reports.
It is very unusual to hear that a candidate in an election did not participate in the voting process, especially one in which the person is a frontline candidate. Dino Melaye, a former member of the House of Representatives, also had a term in the Senate before he was voted out in 2019. Melaye was billed to vote at his polling unit, known as Unit 004, Iluafon Quarters, Ayetoro Gbede Ward 1. Voting started early at about 8:30 a.m. just like the electoral umpire had assured, with electorates queuing up and taking their turn to cast their vote, while supporters and onlookers who had finished stayed back to wait for the PDP candidate to arrive, until the window given by the electoral umpire for voting elapsed and voting concluded. Mr. Melaye was not seen at the polling unit. On the wall here, Dino Melaye's name and photograph was on display among other registered voters in the unit. The polling unit officer who spoke off camera said ever since the polls opened until it closed, the PDP candidate did not approach the cubicle. But Dino Melaye had denied a report that he did not participate in the election and alleged that there was a hidden agenda by the incumbent governor to sabotage the election.
We had cases of results sheets by INEC officials in the carrying result sheets in their bag that already have been filled even before accreditation took place. And very gallant, vibrant youths accosted some of the POs and some of the assistant polling clerks to just to find out that the sheets they are carrying were already filled, were already results already stated, even when accreditation has not taken place. I think that's a huge disappointment, because I was thinking INEC will use this opportunity to redeem our image. They will use this opportunity to ameliorate the mistakes of the past, though some of them deliberate. It's a shame that we could see INEC original result sheets carried not by hoodlums, not by party members, but by INEC staff already filled.
Although he insisted that he voted.
I have voted. And maybe you went to the wrong polling unit. Maybe you went to the wrong polling unit.
When asked which polling unit, he refused giving a straight answer.
I'm not under attack. I voted.
Finally, the battle is over. It is a done deal at Ayetoro Gbede Ward 1, polling unit 003. The People's Democratic Party candidate, Dino Melaye, has just won in his polling units with 210 votes out of the 252 votes cast in this particular polling unit. It is a moment of jubilation for all the party supporters of Dino Melaye in his community.
Let's now speak with our news correspondent covering the election in Kogi State, Marvelous Obomanu, to give us updates as regards how the election went down in Kogi State. Marvelous, thank you so much for being there. So quickly, just give us a rundown of how it went down in Kogi State. Earlier on, we saw your report, how people were jubilating and how it all ended. So go ahead.
All right, very quickly, the election started like every other election and every other election day we have witnessed in Nigeria. Most of the polling units started election at exactly 8:30 a.m., which is the official time that the polls are supposed to open. In Ayetoro Ward 3 and Ward 4, where I actually covered, the election started exactly at 8:30 and ended exactly 2:30. It was quite a peaceful election because the DPO in charge of that area and the Commissioner of Police, including a senior director in the DSS and of course the EFCC, also came into that particular polling unit, talking about units 003 and 004, to have a talk with the electorates to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner, and that nobody's life is worth, taking because of this election. So at the end of the day, we witnessed a little voter apathy, especially for the Dino Melaye's polling unit, which is polling unit 004. We had a total number of 252 accredited voters in that particular polling unit. But at the end of the day, we had just about 230, votes, 210 going for Dino Melaye, and then the rest scattered for other, candidates. At the end of the day, Dino Melaye was supposed to, cast his vote in that particular polling unit, but till INEC closed voting around 2:30. We didn't see him, approach the Kobeko. Although there were reports of pockets of incidences in Kogi State here, about 5 of them. But INEC, in their official report they released this evening, said that they are going to cancel elections in those, local governments that have been highlighted that had, malpractices and, incidences. Earlier, the PDP candidate, Dino Melaye, had raised an alarm that a particular local government, that some INEC staff, had ballot paper that had already been thumb-printed even before elections started. And that is why the Independent National Electoral Commission, in their headquarters there in Abuja, released a report that most of these, local governments that had these incidences, that, election will be halted. They are pending further directives.
Okay.
Back to the studio.
Okay, marvelous. We also heard that some people were induced, cash was given to some people between 3,000 and 5,000 to vote for a particular candidate. Can you either corroborate or debunk that claim or that story?
Of course, Lekan, you know that voter inducement is part of Nigeria's electoral culture. That is because some people would want you to give them money before they vote for you, saying that if they don't collect this money, they will not see you again till after 4 years. But that has to stop. But for the particular polling units where I cover, polling unit 004, 003, and also 002, we didn't have any case of voter inducement, but what we had is voter apathy in those polling units where I mentioned. But what you just asked is not unrelated because it is part of Nigeria's electoral culture. But where I covered, I didn't see such report in those polling units where I covered. Back to the studio.
Marvelous. Just wrap things up now. Judging by your assessment of how the election went down, are there areas you would expect improvements to be made to make elections more credible in subsequent processes or periods?
All right, according to some observers in those particular polling units, they said that what the election we had today is an improvement to what we had in the last general election because election started at the official time exactly 8:30, and both the electorates and the INEC officials all conducted themselves in a very plausible and applaudable manner. But some people we also spoke with just said that we need to find a way, to improve the voter apathy we had. And that is because the last election, according to some of them, did not go down with them. And because they are saying that there is no need for them to come out to vote, when at the end of the day, their will not be reflected in the ballot, but rather it will be decided in the courtroom. So that is why some of them did not come out to vote, and that is why we recorded voter apathy. But outside that, in terms of bringing the electoral materials on time and commencing, voting on time, that was what we witnessed today. Election started on time, and we had, a peaceful election, save for few, incidences in some local government areas. And also, finally, I did speak with some aged, people in those polling units where I visited, and I think we should look at the report and hear what they have to say.
Finally, before I let you go, Marvelous, so we also hear that there is already a collation of results and, of course, counting. I want to believe that sorting is also part of what they are doing now. So give us an update of when the last process of these electoral cycle will end in terms of when the results will be collated and, of course, when the announcement will be made. Just a rough heads up.
All right, in the election process strata, collation is about the second to the last process, and then the last one is the announcement of result. If you observe carefully, where I am standing is the state office of the Independent National Electoral Commission. If you notice, we are just having less, activities here at the state, office. That is because when we entered, they told us that collation will officially start by tomorrow around 10 a.m. because some local governments are just getting their results. So state collation will officially start by 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Marvelous. Obomanu, thank you so much for giving us the details in Kogi State.